Welcome to my top 10 books of 2022. I have 9 of the 10 books physically, and the other one was a library book that I never ended up purchasing. I am going in order of least favorite to most favorite. And here we go. Okay, so first book is Undertaking of Hart and Mercy. From what I've heard, this is a retelling of You've Got Mail, but I've never watched You Got Mail, so I don't know. But basically, the two main characters, one of them is an undertaker and the other is kind of a, I don't actually know what they're called, like Wild West policeman. There's a name for it. I can't think of it right now. Okay, Marshall. He's a marshal, thought of the name. So basically they do not like each other, and then they start writing letters and basically sending them off into the ether, and they end up writing them to each other, and it's just a cute little love story. And I got in a fair loot. I'd never heard of it before, and it really surprised me. It was adorable. Okay, so number 9 is the only book I don't own physically. It is The Hart Principle. So I read a ton of contemporary fantasy this year. Contemporary fantasy. I read a bunch of contemporary romance this year. It's my first foray into it. I've always been almost exclusively a fantasy and sci-fi reader. But this year I decided to try my hand at contemporary fantasy, and hands down my favorite was The Hart Principle. I read all 3 of the Kiss Quotient books this year, but that one, it's the one that's really stuck with me this whole time. I constantly think about it. So in this one, we follow our main character, Anna, who is a former violin, I guess I would say, she went viral for a violin video. And ever since that moment, she has been trying to recreate that violin experience, and she's kind of been stuck on it. But just the interactions between Anna and her family, the interactions between Anna and Gwyne, the main love interest, I loved her. It was really emotionally hard-hitting. All 3 of the books, I would definitely check trigger warnings because it was much more intense than some of the other contemporary romances I read. But like I said, I think about it even to this day, every day. I loved that book. I thought it was so well done. So yeah, that reached number 9. So yeah. Okay, next book is A Blade So Black. So I read a book series called Looking Glass Wars when I was a kid. It's an Alice in Wonderland retelling, and since then I read every Alice in Wonderland retelling I could get my hands on, just like looking for one, like as much of that. And I must have read at least 15 of them. This is the first one that delivered. I loved this retelling. We follow our character. It's been a while since I read it. Oh, her name is Alice, obviously. And she stumbles upon basically Hatter, and he is looking for a human to help defend our world from something called nightmares. And each region has a human that basically is trained by the immortal from Wonderland to protect from these nightmares. It has all of the Alice in Wonderland lore I love: Red Queen, White Queen, Hatter, Mad Hair, all that stuff, and it does it really well. I really enjoyed the characters in this, and yeah, so I'm really excited. There's first 2 are out. I've read those, read them right in a row. I'm excited for the 3rd one to come out. I believe it's going to be a trilogy. Yep. Okay. 3rd book is The Gilded Wolves. So this is basically a adventure thriller with a fantasy magical twist to it. So my family and I love the terrible, awful adventure books, Clive Cussler, all those kinds of things, and that's what this gave me, but in fantasy form with a beautiful found family. You're in old-timey steampunky, semi-steampunky Paris, I believe they start out in the first one. You kind of travel all around the world. There's a trilogy. I loved this book. The 2nd and 3rd are good. This one is definitely my favorite. But yeah, it has a great cast of characters, a cool magic system, and it's just got that heist, adventure, archaeology plot that I really like. Okay, next one is A Curious Beginning. This is the first book in an old-time murder mystery series. We follow our main character Veronica and her companion, for lack of a better word, Stoker, as they are thrown together to solve this murder mystery, of which they are both suspects because one of their mutual friends has been murdered. So the best part of this book is definitely the banter between Veronica and Stoker, but I enjoy the mysteries, I like the world, and it's just kind of a fun palate cleansing in-between book that I've been slowly making my way through this series. Okay, so number 5, halfway through, is Aurora Rising. This is a young adult sci-fi series. It follows our main character Tyler. He is, we start out the day before his big graduation ceremony, and during this graduation ceremony, the top people in the class get to pick basically their team for the rest of their missions at this military academy. And he ends up getting distracted, and he finds a girl who is the only survivor of a wreck that happened 200 years ago. And because he's too busy rescuing that girl, Aurora, he gets back too late in graduation, and he's basically left with the bottom of the barrel, the misfits of graduation ceremony. So it kind of follows the adventures of figuring out how Aurora survived, what happened, and it really develops an excellent found family. I just found this such a fun, fast-paced sci-fi. I liked all the characters. So that is my number 5. My 4th pick is The Invisible Library. So this follows a woman named Irene. She is what is known as a librarian in this universe. So the library is a central force. It is an area full of books, and in an interdimensional world, they take different books, which adds stability to the universe. So libraries are neutral. There are fae and there are dragons. I just really like the love of books in this. I like the characters. We follow Irene through her adventures, not only collecting books, but navigating the politics between fae, dragon, and keeping the library neutral. There is also a big bad, if you will, a librarian gone rogue many years before. So these are just fun adventure stories. If you love books, you'll love these. Lots of stories, lots of worlds. I like each book basically follows a different world in this interdimension. I like seeing all the different types of world, the different types of characters. Yeah, this one's great. Okay, getting up there. We're in the top 3. So number 3 is The Discord of Gods. So this is the 5th and final book to the Course of Dragon series. It came out this year. I absolutely adore this series. I don't want to give too much because this is obviously the 5th book in a series and it would be spoilers, but the first book follows our main character Kieran, who has, basically we find him in a prison with his captor Talon, who doesn't seem to be human, and we find out that Kieran is a street rat who was basically found out to be the son of basically a prince. He's basically a prince, I guess would be how it works in this world. They don't use the word prince, and it turns out there's a prophecy about him that he is not actually meant to save the world, but he is meant to end the world. So there's a large cast of characters. I love the intricacies of the world. The magic system's really interesting. There are dragons, which is always a bonus. I would recommend this one on audio if you're an audiobook listener. There are footnotes throughout this book and the other books, and the way the audiobook does it with the multiple narrators, it's the best way I've ever read footnotes, and the footnotes really do add to the story. So yeah, this was an amazing conclusion. I'm so sad it's over. I can't wait to see what else Jen Lyons writes. Yeah, it's number 3. Okay, number 2 spot goes to The Hunger of the Gods. I read both The Shadow of the Gods and The Hunger of the Gods this year. It's my first foray into John Gwyne. This is a Viking fantasy following 3 different points of view. We have Orca, who is a mother living with her husband and her son, kind of in the outskirts of a village on a homestead. And kind of there is a boy that and his family go missing. So it's kind of their adventure trying to figure out what happened there. There is Varg, who is a runaway slave who ends up meeting up with a war band called the Blood Swarm and kind of his adventures with them. And then there's Elvar, who is part of a war band already, who are going to seek the ancient, basically battleground of a bunch of the gods, because in this world all the gods died off ages ago, and you can use their bones basically as magic weapons. I loved this. I thought the atmosphere was excellent. I adore the characters, which I think I've said about almost every book. I am a character driven reader, if you cannot tell. But yeah, this one had some of the best atmosphere, and I really like all of the gods and how they kind of tie into everything here. So Hunger of the Gods, I think, expanded the world in a way that the Shadow of the Gods couldn't, because it was the first book. So I do like the second one slightly better. I can't wait till the third one comes out. Okay, so my number one book for the year was House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. So I read all of Sarah J. Maas's backlist between last year and this year. I think I read A Court of Thorns and Roses in that series last year, and then I read Throne of Glass and Crescent City 1 and 2 this year. And I, obviously, my shirt says Nesta, I do like ACOTAR. I do. But this book blew me away with every single page. I love the emotion, I love the world building, I love the characters, and just the story that you follow. Oh my god, it had me on the edge of the seat the entire time. I'm so attached to everyone in here. So basically we follow Bryce, our main character, who is known, she's a half fae, she's known as a party girl, and she is connected to a set of brutal murders, and because she is connected to these murders, she is basically commanded by the angels who kind of run the city that she lives in to help investigate this murder. Because it is such a dangerous murder, she is assigned a basically guardian angel, Hunt, and together they have to figure out who killed these people, what happened, what are the underlying situation, I guess, to what happened. And again, especially the friendship between Bryce and Danica in here, it's just, oh, so good. So yeah, honestly, I think you could read it as a standalone. The second one was okay, wasn't great. This first one might be in my top 10 books of all time, honestly. So yeah, that is my top 10, let me show the stack, favorite books of the year. What are your guys' favorite books? And I will see you next time. Bye!